Hello, everyone. I'd like to share some insights on the difference between facts, perspectives, opinions, and potentially biases. Back in 2001, when talking with my first coach, David Herdlinger, he asked me a series of questions, most of which, or perhaps all of which, did not have black and white answers. The last question he asked me was, what does MSU stand for? And I said, MSU, from my perspective, stands for Mississippi State University. That's where I was living at the time, but it could just as easily stand for Michigan State University. He said, okay, I'm here to tell you that MSU doesn't stand for either one of those. It stands for make stuff up. And that's what you've been doing. It's like, okay. He said, the questions I've been asking you basically asked you for perspectives and opinions. And in most cases, they weren't factual questions. There was nothing like, what does 2 plus 2 equal? And he talked about how important it was for us, and it is for us as leaders, to recognize the difference between facts, perspectives, kind of what we have knowledge about, but perhaps still don't know as a fact, and opinions. And of course, in all three of those cases, or certainly in the case of perspectives and opinions, our biases have a lot to do with how we come out and the decisions we make. So for as leaders, we need to be really careful that we base our decisions on the facts that are at hand. And if we don't have the facts at hand, we need to dig deep, ask some really good questions, and listen hard to understand the facts so that we can make the best decision possible. This makes me think of the book, The Four Agreements. In one of the chapters, the chapter that deals with don't assume, the story goes that there was a lady walking down the street and she had two kids trailing her, and they were really rowdy, they were really unruly, and quite frankly, making a pretty big scene. And our bias says, hey, she should be doing something about that. What kind of mom is she? But as the story goes, we learn that she's walking back from the hospital in which her husband died in her arms 2 hours earlier. And of course, she wasn't particularly worried about the kids at that point. So the moral of the story is clear. We need to base our decisions and reactions on facts whenever possible. And when the facts aren't at hand, ask great questions, searching for great answers, and listen carefully. I hope this reminds you to lead with thoughtfulness and empathy. If you found this helpful, please like, share, follow, and subscribe.